President of the Organization of Professional Association, President-elect, General Secretary, and Vice Presidents, past Presidents, forum members, and guest speakers of today's seminar, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the seminar, Innovate Sri Lanka, Empowering Entrepreneurs, which is organized by Social Event, Outreach Programs and Young Professional Committee, and Seminars, Workshop and Programs Committee of the Organization of Professional Associations of Sri Lanka. But not only that, we joined with the Junior Inventor of the Year, University Inventor of the Year Committee of the Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka, is known as IESL. And this event is also sponsored by Aero Engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Chamil Edirmuni, the chairman of the Seminars, Workshops and Programs Committee of the OPA. Today, our target is to inspire and to empower the entrepreneurial spirit that drives the progress and innovation in Sri Lanka. To formally commence this event, please join with me in welcoming Mr. Sujiwalal Dhanika, Attorney at Law, the President of the OPA, for the welcome speech.
President-elect Mr. Jayanta Gallaheva, General Secretary Mr. Tisaredi Silva, Treasurer Mr. Chansri Kalupahana, past President, Office Bearers, members of the Executive Council and General Forum, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome all of you to this seminar on Innovate Sri Lanka, Empowering Entrepreneurs, jointly organized by the Social Events, Outreach Programs and Young Professionals Committee and the Seminar Workshops and Programs Committee of the OPA, together with the University Inventors of the Year Committee of the Institute of Engineers Sri Lanka. The greatest resource of any country is its human capital, and Sri Lanka is blessed to have immense talented and capable individuals, especially among our youth. The numerous applications and inventions that have been introduced to the market is a testament to the natural abilities of our university students and young people. Unfortunately, much of this vast potential remains untapped, as many aspiring entrepreneurs lack the essential knowledge and skills to succeed. As a result, many promising inventions don't come to market, and those who dream of starting to their own business give up on their ambitions. Many opt to go abroad instead. The seminars has been organized to provide these enterprising young people with the know-how to build successful companies and take their innovations to the world. I am confident that our youth possess the abilities to create world-class Sri Lankan companies that can compete with the best businesses in the international market. By becoming successful entrepreneurs, you will not only be able to realize your full potential and contribute to society, you will also be able to play a vital part in Sri Lanka's economic progress by bringing in foreign exchange and providing valuable jobs. Our journey to prosperity depends on the contributions of these talented young inventors, among whom we may well have the next Bill Gates or Jack Ma. We are fortunate to have as our guest speakers today 3 leading experts in their respective fields who will be able to share their valuable knowledge and experience with us. They are Professor Rangika Halwathura, Professor of the Department of Civil Engineering at the University of Moratuwa, Mr. Harsha Fernando, President's Counsel, and Mr. Dhanika Perera, founder Bhasha Lanka Private Limited, and also Mr. Revan Veerasinghe as one of our panelists. I am sure that you will be able to inform and inspire our audience with your insights and perspectives. In addition, our moderator this evening will be Ms. Nishadi Rajapaksha, Assistant Secretary of the OPA. I would like to offer all of you a very warm welcome. We will all undoubtedly have much to learn from our guest experts at this seminar, after which we will go for a Q&A session in order to get a more in-depth understanding of this subject. So let me wish you a very educational and informative evening. Thank you.
President of the OPA for that warm welcome and insightful introduction to our theme. To further enlighten us on the purpose and the vision behind today's seminar, may I invite Dr. Naresh Samarasekara, the Vice President of the OPA, Chairman of the Social Events, Outreach Programs and Young Professional Committee of the OPA. He is by profession a dental surgeon attached to Lady Ridgeway Hospital. It's over to you, Dr. Naresh, for the introductory remarks.
Good evening to everybody. President Mr. Suchiwala Dhanika, President-elect Mr. Jayanta Gallaheva, General Secretary Mr. Tisara D. Silva, Treasurer Mr. Chandra-Sri Kalupahana, Engineer Shamil Edrimuni, Chairman of the Seminar Committee, Engineer Janaka Lakmewan, Chairman of the JIT and UIY Committee, our distinguished guest speakers, past presidents, key office bearers, members of the forum and OPA, ladies and gentlemen. As Chairman of the Social Event Outreach Programs and Young Professionals Committee of the OPA, it gives me great pleasure to make these introductory remarks for this seminar on Innovative Sri Lanka Empowering Entrepreneurs. Recognizing the potential of the young minds, the Social Events and Outreach Programs and Young Professionals Committee and Seminar Workshops and Programs Committee of the OPA have decided to host this joint seminar with the Junior Inventor of the Year and University Inventor of the Year Committee of the Institute of Engineers Sri Lanka. We aim to bring entrepreneurs, university inventors and young professionals onto a common platform to share ideas and inspire creative problem solving for national progress. We believe that the youth of this country have immense potential, and it is essential that we help them realize their full potential. In the past, many young people lacked the opportunity to fully utilize their talent, but I am glad to say that this is slowly changing with the introduction of digitalization. It is now possible for innovative software developers to utilize their skills and offer their products to the world from any part of the country. New startups are both cities and rural areas, while at our universities we see building inventors coming up with new and innovative applications and products. This showcases the entrepreneur's spirit of our youth. It is in this backdrop that we are having this seminar. It is designed to give potential entrepreneurs an introduction to the most important skills they need to succeed in their journey. Our three speakers are experts in their respective fields and represent the most vital subject areas that young entrepreneurs must know, specifically engineering, information technology, and legal. I am certain that you will learn a great deal from our resource persons. Of course, the seminar will not only be restricted to those topics. In the Q&A session, you will have the ability to raise any other queries that you have and share your experiences. I encourage you to make use of this extensive knowledge and background of our panelists and obtain their input on the projects that you have. I hope that this seminar will help you on your journey to becoming a successful entrepreneur, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samrasekara, for setting the stage and highlighting the significance of today's seminar. Before turning into our panel, let us hear from Engineer Dhanika, the chairman of the Junior Inventor of the Year and the University Inventor of the Year Committee of the ISL, to share his perspective on engineering and innovation entrepreneurship. Over to you, Engineer Dhanika.
Good evening, distinguished guests, esteemed panelists, and valued participants. It is both an honor and a privilege to represent the institution of Engineers Sri Lanka ISL at this important session as the chairman of the ISL JIY UIY program. ISL is the national body of engineers in Sri Lanka. It is a multidisciplinary professional engineering institution that represents the interest of the engineering profession and the public. Junior Inventor of the Year program was initiated by ISL in 1980 and has now empowered young minds for over 4 decades, promoting creativity and innovation among school students around the country. As an advancement to the JIY, the competition was extended to the university level in 2020 as undergraduates Inventor of the Year, UIY. UIY competition provides a platform for engineering undergraduates to showcase their innovativeness and solve real-world problems. As Sri Lanka currently continues its process of economic recovery, after a challenging economic crisis, we are in dire need of sustainable economic transition. The key to overcome these challenges and transforming the nation's economy lies in focusing on sustainable development. The role of innovation is crucial in this process. ISL believes that creating an innovation-friendly ecosystem is essential for this shift of sustainable development, and it requires collaboration between policymakers, government bodies, research institutions, academia, industries, financial institutions, and funding agencies. In this context, ISL JIY UIY program has adapted the themes towards a policy-driven entrepreneurship-based innovation culture for this year initiatives, with a focus on creating an innovation-friendly ecosystem in Sri Lanka. Beyond 2 main innovation competitions, in this year we have planned to launch series of webinars, lectures, workshop, and panel discussion targeting diverse stakeholders, including students, undergraduates, academia, professionals, policymakers, entrepreneurs, industries, and businesses to address the broader innovative landscapes. A truly supportive ecosystem must integrate clear policies, access to funding, industry collaboration, and a mindset that grabs risk and resilience. This is where the collaboration of professional bodies like ISL and the organization of professional associations are important to bridge the gap between innovation and implementations. This collaboration with the OPA for today's discussion is an effort toward this commitment. This is the session we aim to develop a discussion and identify actionable strategies to reduce barriers for innovators, improve resource accessibility, and establish policy framework that promote entrepreneurships. ISL extend our gratitude to the esteemed panelists of today's sessions representing academia, legal expertise, and entrepreneurships. A special thanks should also go to Mr. Sujeevalal Dhanika, President of OPA, and also the Dr. Naresha Samarasekara, Vice President of OPA, and Engineer Chamil Ledurumani, Vice President of OPA, and more importantly, he's a past ISL Council member and a past Chairman of the Electronic Telecommunication Engineering Sectional Committee of ISL as well, for their collaboration in these discussions toward an innovation-friendly ecosystem. And also appreciation should go to ISL President Engineer Krani Jayala, and also the past President Professor Ranjit Disanaka is also here for their visionary leaderships, and the ISL Council and the UIY Committee for their continuous supports. As ISL, we are committed to continue the legacy of empowering young innovators by providing resources, mentorships, and the platform to showcase their ideas, while continuing the discussions that shape Sri Lanka innovation landscapes. Let this discussion on Innovate Sri Lanka empower entrepreneurs, will initiate meaningful dialogue towards an innovation-friendly ecosystem that actively supports the much-needed sustainable economic transition of the country. Thank you very much.
The given topic was innovative design, but I had my 2 cents sustainability there. The topic is innovative design, but before moving to the topic, I thought like I should do a small comparison on to understand what has really happened to Sri Lanka. Taking all the political concepts away, if we take the real sort of the real reason behind, I thought I should do a small comparison. I always love to do let's say if I'm fighting with someone, I always love to pick a person who's over and above me. Even if I fail, I know I fought with that particular person. So in keeping that small the point, I thought I should give a try to compare Sri Lanka with 2 big countries. You can see the 2 countries there. I'm going to compare Sri Lanka with India and China. I know it's very difficult to compare Sri Lanka with China. You take the size of the countries, you can't compare. Even the size of India is 3 times China, and you take the Sri Lankan size, it's like the 64 times, or sorry, 150 times. It's obviously Sri Lanka is a tiny dot in the Indian Ocean, so it's very clear we will not be able to compare the size, the Sri Lankan size with the other 2 big countries. Going to the population, the China leaded, but now the India is leading. The world population is 8 point something billions now. Out of the 8 billion population in the world, 1.5 each lives in India and China. Whereas the Sri Lankan population in 2022, it was 22 million. I don't know where we stand now because of the migration. Maybe it's going down now, increasing. Nobody knows until we get the correct figures. But if you try to compare the population, India and China, it's almost the same. The Indian population is 65 times the Sri Lankan populations. You can't compare. Going to the next topic, that's the patent applications. That is not the number of invention and innovations done by these countries, but giving a try to check whether that's an invention. You check the absolute values, the Chinese value is 1.5 million per year, whereas the Indian value is 61,000 something. So Sri Lankan value is 539. It's very wrong to compare the absolute values because of the size and the population, but if I get the value with respect to the population, you can see China ranks number 1. That's why the China is moving up. Lot of inventions, lot of industries, lot of new industries coming up every day. So China ranks 1, no matter what. Going to India and Sri Lanka, you can see the Chinese value is 26 times the Indian value, whereas the Chinese value compared to the Sri Lankan value, it's 45. So India is twice where we are. We can be little happy, even though it's a big country, big population, but still we can give a try to do a small fight with India. We can be happy until I show this particular next figure. Is again 2022 data. I don't have the recent data. This has two parameters. One is the residential patent applications and the non-residential patent applications. You compare the 3 countries. You can see the China and India. 94 Yeah, it's 94% of the patent application filed in that particular country. 94% are filed by the domestic or the citizens of that particular country. Whereas the Sri Lankan situation, 70% are foreigners. So that itself you can clearly understand what has happened to the country. We always say we are a very creative nation, the genes are always with the creations, but when it goes to the real numbers, you can see what has really happened to us. The topic is innovative design. So keeping the values in your mind, I'm taking you to 3,200 years back to understand this innovative design. Believe me, this is the oldest burnt clay tile found in Sri Lanka. This was found in Anuradhapura. This is not the Anuradhapura where you and I see. It's 32 feet down from where you and I can see as Anuradhapura today. And in an excavation, they found this particular tile. This is a burnt clay tile, nothing big. So they got the clay, tamped it, and had a small hole at the top, burned it, and used it as a shelter. Understand, I mean, they are in the caves before they come to the villages. So the caves are very weatherproofed. So from the weatherproofed cave to this house, you definitely have to understand the house made out of this particular clay tile should have been much more weatherproofed than a cave. I don't know, but definitely that should be the way the civilization goes forward. Yeah, it's really nothing. 3,200 years, no big innovation, no big technology. Going to the next image. That's my. I mean, I'm very sure you'll be able to see the screen than the board here. So it's again a roof tile. The history goes back to 1,800 years back, found near Jetavanarama Stupa. You can see the cross section. Actually, that's my the fingers. With the fingers, you'll be able to see the cross section of the tile. It's a burnt clay tile once again, but it's like our calicut the tiles, Rataulu. So it's a pressed tile, and over the pressed tile at the west edge, they have applied, or rather, they have put another coating. Can say a glass coating. And they have burned this particular two materials at a temperature of 850 centigrades. I'm very sure you all have studied science in your O-levels, forget the A-levels. We know about the coefficient of thermal expansion, so different material expand in different ways, and with the temperature gradients, they expand in different ways. But still, believe me, this was burned at 850 centigrades. Still, there's no a single crack on the glazing surface. So they have found some mechanism to match the coefficient of thermal expansion. That's one big story. Yesterday it was raining. The day before yesterday it was so hot. Anuradhapura is not like Nuwara. It's really hot. Today, with the modern technology, to achieve the thermal comfort in building, what we do? We have the roofing, then we have the insulation layer, then you have the air conditioner. So after that only you are comfortable inside. But these people who lived in this particular blessed country, I can't say this is the best country, but I believe this is the blessed country. But for me, this is the best in the world. That's a different story. But in this particular country, those who have lived here, they found a mechanism to reflect about 90% of the heat at the rooftop level. Even today with the modern technology, we let the heat enter the building, and then we struggle with the heat. These people who lived 8,800 years back, they found this particular technology. They didn't come to Moratuwa University or any other big universities in the world to study about the science and engineering. They went to the best university in the world, that is the nature, the environment. But today, we have totally ignored the best university, and we are trying to go to the best out of with a small question mark. Right. So I'll show you some of the interesting the cases where you can find innovation. You can compare the history versus the modern technology, where we basically the copying from other countries. You go to any of these places. We'll take one example, the Dambulla Lena, the paintings. More than the painting, I mean, now you can see some of the mold growths on the wall. Even if you just look at this particular the room, you can see some mold growth on walls, because the moisture content, you can't play with the moisture content even with the air conditioner. But this structure, you know, it's dripping all the time. It's 24/7, 365. It's dripping, but still, there's no mold growth on the walls. They have created these structures to create the turbulence inside the structure, where the excess moisture will be taken out and the walls will be moisture free. If you are to do this particular thing today with the modern technology, you still can do it. You get a wind tunnel and do a physical simulation, the scale down simulation, or else get a high-end computer, do the computer simulation. But these people, without having those the high-end technology, they have done this, and that technology is 100% accurate even for today. Unbelievable. So invention and innovation, can we find something best, something better than this in the modern world technology? Going to food and agriculture, I mean, one could say there have been 100 or 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 odd numbers lived in that particular area. They went to the jungle, they got some, they picked some vegetables from the forest, ate and died. I'm not going to believe it. There could have been millions of people who lived in that particular era, and they definitely have had a happy life than you and I, because they knew one thing which you and I know, but we don't want to believe. That is, they knew that they're going to die one day. We people, even at the ICU, the last minute, last second, we are trying to have one extra second one. I'm not going to say it's bad, it's good. But at the same time, we understand we are a temporary set of the aliens to this particular world, and we one day have to leave. That was known to them. So they give the minimum harm to the nature, they got the maximum productivity, and they had a happier life than you and I. Going to medicine. I'm not going to talk about the Ayurvedic, the Vedakama, which came with King Vijaya. I'll take one simple example from the Hela Vedakama, from the history. There's one called Rasa Vedakama. They are, Mercury, Rasadiyar. We are not even allow our kids to touch, right? But you believe me, they took mercury to a stone cup Galkova, and they were working with the material for days and months, and they converted mercury as a drug carrier. You take any capsule, any tablet today, about 99% is a drug carrier, whereas 0.1% will be the drug. These people who lived in this particular blessed country, I'm again reiterating the point, they converted the mercury as a drinkable drug carrier. We talked about the nanotechnology today and give the blessings to the West, saying they are the people who invented nanotechnology. What is that Rasavedakama? When they're working with the material, each time the stone cup touches the stone stake, the material was broken into another level. They never knew about the nanotechnology, that particular terminology, but they knew the science of it. Once again, not learned from University of Moratuwa, the chemical engineering department, but from the nature. But that technology, even today it exists, but unfortunately we get the material from India because we don't have that particular the technology. But we have the Rasavedakama in Sri Lanka. So where we can get the innovative design concepts other than from our history. Keeping the whole history out, I'm going to take you to the modern world. You take your mobile phone, I don't think you'll be able to find a single thing which you can't do with your mobile phone now. An engineer, why you need to have a chartered engineer? He's there in the phone. Even a lawyer, he's there. A doctor, he's there. Any profession you point, it's there. Very recently, there was an interesting invention by some USA university. So they have an app developed. When you go and use your urinal, the washroom, they will detect from your urine, they will detect 9 diseases and send a message to your phone saying, look, you have this and that. I'm scared to go to that particular washroom, that's a different story. But that is where the technology is. The people have gone to the moon and we are about to step into Mars. Not us, but our next generation or the next generation, they will learn 10% in math, in another, let's say, 50, 100 years' time. They will go to Mars and they will own 10%, not from Columbus 7. They will find land from Mars. I'll quickly go through the three topics which I was discussing with you from the past. The agriculture. I mean, all of us, I'm sure, except few, all belongs to before 2000 era. We never learned about planting a tree without soil. But today, now it is aquaponic, or the hydroponic, no soil. You add little bit of fish, we call aquaponic. So we don't add the fertilizer now. You add fish, you get the discharge, and that will be converted to, with the bacterial growth, we convert that as the fertilizer. No, even a lotus plant, we got the clay pot, we put the clay, we planted and put to the water. That's our generation, that's our era. But today, it's with 0% soil. This guy, I mean, I told you 8 billion population in the world, more the population need to have more food. I'm not going to say it's a bull anymore, it's a meat bull. So you need more food. The scientists have changed the genes. I don't know whether legally I'm correct to use the change in the genes, but anyway, they have created a bull where it's a meat bull now. Let me show you another interesting image. I mean, in my childhood, when I was going to the school, the broiler chicken industry was 48 days. The 48 days from this size of egg to 5 pounds of, or rather 2.5 kilos of a meat ball, the meat bowl, that will take only 48 days. Can you believe today it's only 14 days? That creature can't even think of dying, it will be killed and sent to your plate. I don't know how many days they are going to spend in the refrigerator, that's a different story. But the whole transformation is only 14 days. About the medicine. You take any disease today, the next day you will be able to find the drug. We all thought we will all die with COVID. What was happened? In a month or two, all the countries were fighting to send the drug to Sri Lanka. So it was another business, and I mean, we thought we will die, but we all survived. All who are living here. So we survived, I mean, we didn't die. You think of a disease today, the next day, as I told you, you will get the drug. And most importantly, a country like Sri Lanka, we are much more fortunate. Sometimes you will get the drug, then they will realize the disease is not there in the country. The next day, the next plane, you will get the disease as well. So you are in a very fortunate country, Sri Lanka. So it's amazing. So there's nothing new to find. That's what I'm telling. So there's nothing new for you to invent or innovate, because it's all done. The technology, the science, all have done everything what you need today and tomorrow as well. Well, I really, really doubt whether we have anything to invent or innovate. With that small note, let me show you a interesting cross-section of the Sri Lankan dwelling, the housing. The top house, I could say it's a very poor house. The middle one can be a poor house. The top one, where we all love to and dream to stay, sophisticated, state-of-the-art, all the sustainable techniques are there. When you go to the door, it will be open, right? So all the sensors and the facilities are there, and that's where we all love to stay. Keeping the three images aside, let me show you another three images. This is the main street before the independence. That means as a country we are very poor before the independence. And the image below is the main street today. I don't know whether we are developed or developing, but still that is what you can see at the main street today. But from there I'm going to the modernist and the sustainable city in the world. That is Hong Kong City. So when you talked about the sustainability, innovation, invention and the technology, we always forget the rest of the stuff. We talked about the Hong Kong City, and that's the modern structure. We never talked about these two structures. I'll ask a single question. We all, I don't know, many, maybe few, we do how many hours we sleep for a day? 8 hours, 6 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours. Many of the people who lived in this particular, the house below, they have 4 to 5 hours of sleep. Even to have that particular 4 to 5 hours sleep, they need half a tablet of half a sleeping tablet, because they are fully stressed. They go to sleep around 1 a.m., 2 a.m., have to wake up 5 a.m. in the morning, so they should have to have a sleeping tablet for them to have not a proper sleep, but to at least close their eyes. not only the parents, even the kids now. That's the house who you can see at the bottom. The top two houses, they don't have power. They don't have any sophisticated technology. The snakes are sliding or gliding over the Polla Tuwasse. But still, they have a very good sleep while all these snakes are gliding here and there. But still, they have a happy sleep there. From 8 p.m. to maybe 6, 7 a.m. in the morning. More than 8 hours of sleep. But you people having everything, one day you have to give up everything and leave the world. We can't have 4 to 5 hours of good sleep, whereas having nothing with them, still they have at least 8 hours, more than 8 hours of sleep. If you think about the happiness and the satisfaction, I believe they have a better life than you and I. Having all the jackets and all, but still inside us we are burning. But still they are not happy because you have set a benchmark saying, look, that is the house you should one day build. So they are not happy because they are dreaming that particular house. But if you go into the real sense and the depth of these people, they are happier than you and I. Even though I said there's nothing new to develop, there are a lot to be developed because there are a lot of things happening behind us. None of these things are computer chillmarts. These are all happening every day. The day before yesterday is so hot, 35 centigrades, and suddenly we got the rain, luckily, but next day we don't know what is going to happen. I don't know whether you will be able to remember COVID, because as Sri Lankans we can't remember things beyond how many weeks? 2 weeks. I thought it's 4 weeks, but it's 2 weeks. I'll show you one interesting image from China. This is actually the Beijing city before the COVID lockdown. I asked whether you can remember the stuff because I want to remind the COVID again. It's 2020. If you can remember, we got the COVID and we had to lock down the country. That was 2021 in Sri Lanka, but 2020 December 11th, as far as I can remember, they went for the complete shutdown there. But I have time. Finished? Really? So they went for a complete shutdown. So this is before the lockdown, and this is exactly after 14 days of lockdown. You can see the difference. What we innovate and what the nature did. So the same thing happened very recently last year. This is normal Colombo, and this is actually the below image is what was happening in Colombo in last December because of the some unexpected the cloud came from India. We can say it was done by Indians, but still it's human. Well, this is what we were expecting, but unfortunately this is what exactly has happened. Every step we put forward, we have destroyed the nature. So that's something alarming, but we have to critically understand what's really happening behind. Let me show you one interesting cartoon from the internet once again. So, having a chat with the sun, that man says that's who we basically represent. He requests the sun to go to your settings, go to your display, reduce the brightness. It's too hot. Sun replies and say, "I'm sorry, I haven't done any changes to my settings. You increase increase the trees and a lot of big history." And finally the sun says, finally, it's a huge, could say a real talker. You need to go to your human mode from the auto mode. Like you change your the phone mode, you need to now shift to the human mode from the auto mode. So I was. Can I have another? Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, that's actually that's all what I wanted to show you. But I was coming here as an inventor, so I should I thought I should show you some of the cases which I have done. Only few. If anybody asks where am I always love to show this particular image. And it's not to show that I'm having a bath every day. That's a different story. The reason was this actually all the time. When the whole world is busy with the technology, I always love to be with the nature. It's like little bit of this, but not exactly. This is what I was doing throughout my life. So I got the sense from the nature, put my sense, and finally I created my one or two inventions. So I'll show you some of these the stuff which I'm not a musician, don't judge me in the wrong way, but this is exactly what I was doing with my inventions. This is actually the first patent which basically changed my whole life, I could say, the Vespucci. The images, I mean, if anybody asks what is the best and the comfort you have ever experienced in your life, I could point these wattle and herb structures. The Vespucci, if you look at what he is doing, he get the clay mixed with a lot of water, the saliva, and build a nest for the next generation, not for generations. That is what we do. If you want to learn about the sustainable innovation, you need to study the Vespucci. So I got the inspiration from this guy. I created my first patent. If you look at this particular, the bird, he do the same. He get the clay mixed with water, but you can see he other than the clay, he adds some fiber to the material. So he build a stronger wall than the Vespucci. So it's not me really. Actually, it's a big team working together. We managed to developed 8 patents out of the clay material. The success is not really me. Actually, it's a big team working with me. You can say it's not engineers. It's a big team. I mean, 1 plus 1 is mathematically we know it's 2. But if you add people with different discipline, it can be millions. So that's what I was always love to do with my inventions. The termite nest, we all know that's the best. The comfort, the naturally air conditioning structures, we got the inspiration from there, and we created a hybrid air conditioning system using clay. So that's patented and in the market now. And let me quickly rush some of the examples, you know, about the catapult powder, the mirror wall. So I wanted to replicate, I got the inspiration, I want to replicate this the mirror wall. So I got the alum sludge, you know, the water has no color, but to take the color out, you add a chemical called alum, and that will settle the tiny clay particles, and it's a huge base all over the world. So we got the alum, and you can see the chemicals we played out, and finally we managed to develop a same what we call the mirror wall, the catapult powder. Now it's available. We got the equation award in 2023 for this particular product. So all these things, and not only this is another thing you all have seen. Can you remember there was an incident, very sort of a political incident in Sigiriya, where they applied some due to some political reasons they applied tar, and there was a foreign expert team who came and removed the tar out. Actually, we have to give the due respect to these foreign experts who have removed it. But the the respect should go to the people who have drawn this the paintings. Over the painting, there was a protective the coating. So many of these inventions are basically started from Attakatha. Believe me, it's the basis from Attakatha. So we read out, some of the names are not really known now, but we were working with a lot of archaeologists. And Attakatha says the coating was developed from cashew nut, the resin with Doran oil. So we worked it out, and there's one just recently completed PhD. We managed to reinvent the same coating, protective coating, which was over the Sigiriya painting. So all these things, once again, it's not my own. It's a huge team behind. So I should give the full respect to the entire team. And so quickly I'll go through. I mean, you take this particular building, the carbon dioxide level is really high. To take that particular thing out, and also to reduce the indoor air, or to rather increase the indoor air quality, we have developed a hybrid automated air purification system using the plants. You know, Tippili. You may have seen Tippili. So Tippili was the best out of many of the Sri Lankan plants, herbs. And we have developed this, and once again you can see it's a huge team working together. So, if you can remember, there was the coral in my first slide. It was not from the sea, it's from my university. I do some research with respect to coral and coral transplant. And this is not to talk about the corals here. In 2014, in Okinawa, they found the beach is gone. and they decided to plant the corals. In 2024, that's the last year, you can say it's a thick coral jungle. If you do the right thing with the right team, at the right intention, innovative design and the sustainability is really nothing. It's not my parent or grandparents. I met them in 2015 thanks to the war, the UN Vision building the houses for war-affected communities. This family doesn't have anybody, or rather don't have anybody in this particular world. All were killed due to the war. So I was so lucky to build a house for these people with my inventions. It's me 10 years before. I was so young at that time, even though I'm old now. So I mean, you can see their smile. It's not that sort of a LOL type smile. It's a very genuine the smile. So if I'm to be here or wherever, I always believe this smile took me there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Halwathura, for that thought-provoking and very interesting address. I'm privileged to invite Mr. Harsha Fernando, the President's Counsel, to discuss the legal aspects of innovation and entrepreneurship. Mr. Harsha Fernando is a President's Counsel, leading his own law chambers. He offers services in various legal domains, spanning civil, commercial and appellate court litigations. Mr. Fernando consults for the ADB European Union delegation and JICA and also the World Bank. He was recently appointed as a Commissioner of Securities Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka. He holds an MBA from NTU Singapore and MIT USA and an LLM in Economic Regulation from King's College, London. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Harsha Fernando.
Certainly Professor Halwathura kind of upset the trend I was hoping to take, because you have given a very broad and a very philosophical approach to innovation. And I, with your permission, would like to sort of make it to more boring levels, which is the law that I've been asked to talk. But before I get into the subject proper in terms of law, I also did the same thing of changing the topic a little bit so that I can bring it within an area that I can speak of, compared to the very broad area that Ruchira proposed that I should speak on. There are two things that I would like you to think about before I go into it. And the reason is, you all don't appreciate us enough. I know that the lawyers are part of your professional associations, and I say that when I say you don't appreciate us enough, you don't appreciate the lawyers enough, for good reasons. But when it comes to innovation, I think we can play a significant role. Now, to do that, I would ask you to think about two things. The first is, maybe it's only about me that I'm talking, I hope it's the same for you or not. We tend to think about innovation, as Professor Halwathura very beautifully presented, in very narrow sense. It was all about technology, some technological things, some phone being invented, things like that. Actually, innovation for me, coming from a service profession, is about trying to do whatever that I'm doing better every day. So I think of it as a way of life, a condition, a habit. And that's where you build that innovation culture. So the question I would like to ask is, do we as Sri Lankans have that innovation culture? Professor Halwathura took us way back, thousands of years. But right now, do we have that innovation culture? Now I know innovation and law sort of don't go together. You think that we are the ones who are holding you back, that entrepreneurs are changing the world and we are holding you back. It's not the case. Even in our very traditional, mundane profession, we look for innovation. Every time we interpret a particular section of the law, we are looking at, can we do it differently, a new way? Every time we write something, can we make it shorter? Can we make it more attractive to the person, whoever is reading it? That's innovation. Now, how do you transport that into a cultural thing? Professor Halwathura, once again, sorry I keep referring to you, but he brought the statistics back and he showed the stark difference in terms of at least the recognizable innovation. There might be a lot of innovation out there that it doesn't get recognized, but at least the formally endorsed number of innovation, it shows us as a nation whether we have failed or succeeded. Now, I believe his tone was that we have somewhere down the line lost the plot and we have failed, and we used to be something really great and today we are nowhere. In the answer to that question, why is that, law plays a significant part. So my deliberations with you today is about raising more questions than answers. What is the role that law could have played in terms of encouraging that innovation in a small country like Sri Lanka? Right. Now, to answer that question, I would invite you to think about law slightly differently. Now, it's well and good if innovators are inventing for invention's sake, like artists. There was a time. But let's be a little bit more, I won't say realistic, but little bit more authentic or whatever. It's all about the money, in a way. If you ask the question, can you draw a correlation between free market economies and invention, as against a more controlled market economy and invention? Perhaps one could argue and say that free markets bring in more innovation. Some could say no. So the question I'm asking about it, what incentivizes people to innovate? One sure invention, other than for the pure artistic pressure of I did something, I made a contribution. In addition to that, if you want to make something for yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that, law plays a big role. What does law do to protect your property? That's where intellectual property comes in, and I'm just trying to set the stage for it. If you buy a land in a outstation area away from where you stay, how do you protect that land? My guess is all of you would put a fence around it and maybe put a security guard to look after the land. But somebody goes and writes a bogus deed and your land is gone. So, from physical protection, you got played out through a legal mechanism. So if you start thinking about law as a mechanism, a tool to protect your property, you will begin to see innovation very differently. If I invent something, can I protect it? It's mine. If I want to monetize it, I'm very happy that Mr. Raman Veerasinghe is in the audience. He's been a big advocate for monetizing IP in Sri Lanka. If I want to monetize it, how do I do it? Where does the legal framework come in? That's one big question. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you want to start an entrepreneurial business that has an innovation component in it, Sri Lanka, I think, has not really succeeded except the IT sector. Why has the IT sector sort of taken off compared to other sectors? There are a number of explanations, but from a legal point of view, my explanation is our legal framework has not sort of pulled them back. Yesterday I was with somebody who is a chief legal in a I'm trying to remember the exact words, how she described her business. It's about providing services in trying to get more hits through search engine optimization, and that's the kind of services that company was providing to their services. And she says, lawyer, I'm doing nothing. Why? Because my skill set, I just do one contract and that's it. A lot of these things don't apply to this new economy, this new digital economy, if you're looking at innovation that way. So that begs the question, has the law pulled us back or empowered us? So how many of you now here, I'm sure I certainly see a few architects. How do you protect your design legally? How do you stop somebody else from copying your innovative design and abusing it for profit? If we had a legal framework that offers more protection to innovators, and where you say, look, if you innovate something that is good for society, that cures a disease, that helps us to do our processes at half the time, we will reward you financially so that you have at least that incentive to innovate more, can we give him that assurance with the type of legal systems we have? That's a question I want to pose to you. When I did my master's long time ago, back in 2000, my dissertation was, how do you replicate Silicon Valley in Sri Lanka? As fanciful a thought it was at that time, because that was a time when Taiwan had the same thing, and I had in my class, in my MBA class, a guy who was involved in that science park. I had one guy who had done the policy document for the Singapore Science Park, so 3 of us got together and said, okay, let's take a developing country like Sri Lanka and see whether we can replicate Silicon Valley type dynamics and leapfrog into the future. Because new economy allows us to leapfrog into the future, and we have the young brains to do that. And obviously, because of my legal background, my bias was towards the legal framework, and what I found was that we need a very strong legal framework, especially if you are incubating your innovative ideas. Now, I think Professor Halwathura comes from one of the few universities in Sri Lanka that has a reputation, a relative reputation, not the best reputation, but a relative reputation for invention. How much does the legal framework help you? How confident are you to tell one of your students, look, innovate, I know you are having financial difficulties, but this is your ticket out. This is your way out. I'll help you to form the company. I'll help you to take the product to a global market. Where do you get that assistance? Where do you get that advice? So how do you use that legal framework as an enabler for innovation? So that's the simple thought that I want to leave behind with you for today, and hopefully during Q&A maybe you can share some of the challenges you have faced as legal advisor to Slintech, where you're struggling, if I may use your word, to do that. And interestingly, today in the afternoon I came at a meeting with the Presidential Secretary. We had a discussion about bringing in competition law, how we can introduce competition to restructure markets. Not in a way that's bad, but in a way that's good. Bring in innovation. I've been looking at the budget to see, is there a tax cut for companies that engage in innovation? These are all legal-based strategies. So right now, I think the government has prioritized science-based this thing. I think they're looking at countries like Korea, Japan. If you look at those countries, if you look at the history, things develop together. They have the legal framework and the innovative culture, the STEM education coming through. Do you know that Toyota and Ambassador started in the same year? Toyota company in Japan and the Ambassador in India started in the same year. Toyota developed in a very legally enabling environment, and Ambassador struggled in a permit Raj. The British Raj was replaced by the permit Raj. And I think we are not far from that. So you have to start thinking about law in those angles. So you have, and this is an author that I read 20 years ago, Hernando de Soto. He wrote a nice book called Mystery of Capital. And his simple question was, why are some countries able to leverage on their resources and economically be so up there, and we are not? That's a basic question that he started asking. And then he said, if you want people to develop, doesn't matter, it's your own property, a new invention, a new process of doing things, that's all innovation. You need to give security of ownership, you need to have a good legal framework, and then these together should be part of your economic development strategy. So, coming to the exact topic that I was asked to do today, I now kind of zero in on what we call lawyers in innovation and entrepreneurship. So innovation and entrepreneurship are kind of two words, two concepts, but interlinked. I would always bet my money on an innovative entrepreneur. Because that has a very different incentive system, the innovative entrepreneur. Of course, social justice issues will ask, should I take a patent if I invent a cure for cancer on that? Or should I release it to the benefit of all the people in the world? Then somebody would argue, yes, you should, because that would make you a good person. But if I give it free, I won't have any money to engage in my next research. Are you going to give me the money to do that? So what would you do? You mind if I sell some of it and get some money and then engage in for the next drug? So you will find that drugs for very rare conditions are very expensive. Why? Market economics don't work. Taxation systems don't encourage that. So these are all legal instruments. So you have the when it comes to innovation, you have the 4 things, that patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets. I'm not going to explain those. These are all legal fictions. These are the innovation that the lawyers have done for you. Patent is an idea. A trademark is an idea. A copyright is an idea, and we innovated that, not the entrepreneurs. The concept of a company, we innovated. Just imagine if you had a world without a company. In an old case called Salmon versus Salmon, we said a legal entity is different from the people who are running it. And that gave birth to the modern corporation. Where would innovation be today if we didn't have that concept of a separate legal entity as a company? That's legal innovation. So that's the enabling framework that you should be assessing to decide whether Sri Lanka is there. Answer is of course not yet. If that is the case, what should we be doing to get Sri Lanka there? Okay? So that starts from our very young childhood. Look at our education systems. Look at our disciplinary rules in schools. I have an 11-year-old daughter. She's not studying here at the moment, but when she was, my question always was, is that whole discipline that we admired when we were young, is that creating a culture of innovation for the young minds? Because we are trained to come to school, at least when I was going to school, be at school by 7:30. If you're late by 5 minutes, you're punished. And then go through those periods when the bell rings and at 1:30 you leave. That made me a perfect machine operator in the industrial age. Because when the factory, this thing, horn blasts, we are at the factory and I was trained to be there. So that's why we are all looking for 8 to 5 jobs. And innovation is something that we are scared of. That's the way we were brought up. Be disciplined. He's a good boy because he's disciplined. He respects elders. We got it all mixed up. So start from there. What's the innovation culture that you're encouraging in your own organizations? So I just brought a note which I'm going to read to you with your permission. This is what a client whom I'm advising at the moment. She has some issues in a company where they're trying to change from flexible working hours to back to that 9 to 5 job over some issue. Now this is the email that my client has written to the management. On the other hand, the traditional 8 to 4 work model is increasingly seen as outdated, focusing more on being present than on actual results. This approach is a relic of the industrial era when productivity was directly tied to time spent operating machines. Many modern jobs require knowledge-based work that doesn't fit into a rigid schedule. Such a structure today can lead to a focus on surveillance rather than fostering autonomy and innovation. Now, who can change this? It's our labor laws. It's our labor laws. So if Sri Lanka as a country is talking about innovative culture, we need to change everything. Now that makes it seems impossible. It's not. You look at our IT industry. A lot of them don't have traditional job descriptions. They don't have traditional employment contracts because they have understood the nature of their innovative work and fitted everything else to suit that, instead of trying to fit the work to suit the contract that was drafted in 1957. And we as lawyers are responsible for that. We hate foreign lawyers coming and working in our countries. We hate it. We have stopped it. I don't know whether you're also in that committee, but our association said no foreign lawyers. So that's good. So as a result, our innovation is limited to us. There is no catalyst. So if you look at the industries that are succeeding, they are the ones who have managed to get away from the tentacles of our existing systems. Now, I'm not for a moment saying systems are bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying our systems are not geared to reap the benefits that we can get from an innovation angle. So if you take at an individual level, let's assume one of Professor Halwathura's students want to get into start a business. He has a great idea. He uses the university labs, get the input of the professors and develop something unique. He needs the lawyers here now. This is where we make money. So we can be innovative. Right? So from the start, I have just given in those white squares the start and end to a company. You have the startup, you need to bring financing, you need to decide on the business organization, then you need to come up with your contracts, the non-disclosure agreements, the corporate governance, the employees, growth, exit, the whole life cycle, we are there. So if I ask you the question, if anybody is starting a project, how many of you will actually consult the lawyers before you start the project? You don't. You do the project, and when you hit a problem, then you come to us too late. But there is a reason why you don't consult us, because we are not innovative. We are looking for precedent. That's the way we are trained. So if you have an innovative idea, first thing we are going to say, oh no, you can't do that. Why not? It's never been done before. So there is need to be a mind shift change from the enablers side, that's us, and as well as the doers, that's you. Because you're doing anything in a vacuum is not going to give you the kind of results that you're looking for. So as an individual, I have a lot of juniors also, I ask them, do you every day ask the question, how do you do whatever that you're doing better? Whether it's the way you're holding the pen, positioning your paper, to improve in some way. So you bring in a culture of innovation every day. Now that is incremental, but what we need is more than incremental. That is where the people with the passions like Dr. Halwathura are coming in and, inventing things and doing that. But to get there, we need an innovative culture. And that's where the law comes in. At the firm level, so I kind of ask the question, you need to change the way you use the law to protect innovation. Again, I'm calling on Revan again. So we used to do at one time what we call an IP audit, intellectual property audit, where we could go into a company, look at their whole, whatever that they are doing, if it's a factory, and you suddenly realize there are a lot of new inventive steps in that process. Revan will have a lot of examples. But they have not monetized it. You take our garment industry. In our garment industry, we are basically still at a low in the value chain. I don't think, as far as I'm aware, we have developed either the R&D part or branding. That's where the biggest value is. We are the lower end of the value chain. But even in that process, there is innovation. Maybe we'll cut it in such a way that saves the cloth a little more. Now that's an innovative step. We might use and hold the machine in a particular way. How do you monetize that? That's where the law is coming in. I don't want to take time, but I'll just quickly tell what I'm trying to say here. This is where I'm taking at a more enterprise level. For example, if you have a company that is product leadership is your strategy, you need to change your legal strategy also to fix that. The best example is your razor, the big razor or whatever that you use. First we used to have those blades and we threw them away. Then we bought the razor, but we can buy the blades separately. So they got us to stick to the handle and the blade has to be bought separately. But if you are doing that kind of strategy, then you need to have your legal contracts in same way. So if your organization is about innovation, then your employment contracts must reflect that. How you discipline your employees must reflect that. You can't get a standard 8 to 5 employment contract and say, okay, I'm going to give this for my chief research officer. He's never going to work for that. But they are not geared to work for that way. And if somebody is working in a research in environment in an 8 to 5 mentality, there is some misfit there. So you need to find that fit, and that is my point here. Use law as a resource, not as the necessary evil. I know we have been taught to that keep away from lawyers and doctors, but don't do that. I just told you, we invented the company. We invented the patent. We invented the trademarks. All legal fictions. So we have done our part. But the rules, the regulations, and the way we have been doing it has gone the other way. So here is what you need to do. You need to look at asset preservation, capture and enhance value. Those are some of the things that you need to do. Now I'll finish my presentation by coming to the country level. That's where I started. I'll end it there. Now this is a slide that I found that I did for OPA in August 2024. And there I believe my topic was, why do we need to change commercial law? So commercial law, intellectual property laws are all in the same bucket. So then I tried to do my own assessment of, I identified 6 areas and I tried to do where Sri Lanka stands. So if you look at our ideological foundation, the underlying political, governance, approach and commercial and business, that's part of patent. The rest of the question, are you going to be more innovative in a democratic free market culture? Are you going to be more innovative in a not so democratic free market culture like China? Are you going to be innovative in no democracy, no free markets, but still innovative because the government is funding the research and you're getting rewarded for that, which you used to have in some of the red countries during the Cold War? What's our model? And we need to be sure about that. Then comes our laws, the regulations, the judicial independence, the corruption issue. So this is the assessment that I did at that time for each of these. I don't know how much it has changed. We are now 7-8 months in advance. So if you look at our ideological foundation, happy, sad, confused, angry, you had all those things. So legislative is, we have become a bit of a joke. Judiciary, I can't talk. So corruption and institutional integrity is the warning sign, still changing away. I do not know whether anybody has done an assessment of corruption in, say, for example, patent applications. I had one case where the client said, my application went before the other application, but it has not got registered. I'm not for a moment making any allegation, but all I'm saying is, all that contribute to loss of faith, loss of incentive to make it work. So I think now, at least now, the conversation, the dialogue has started. We have identified the problem. Finally, we have acknowledged that corruption is the one that brought us down. But it's not only about corruption, it's also about our mentalities. I mean, you call it young entrepreneurs. I don't see many young people in the audience. Even if they are certainly not in the front seats. So, having said that, at that time again from the URN that I sort of recommended 7 things to do, and in that, one of the key things was encourage innovation and IP protection. So what I mean by encourage innovation and IP protection is 2 things that I would advise you to do. Understand what we mean by innovation. It's not about gadgets only. I think Professor Halwathura nicely put it. I'm so happy to see that we have a university focus now on our old innovations. I mean, it would be lovely to see a university or a separate university to study our old ancient irrigation innovation and all these irrigations, and then take the world, the ancient knowledge, modernize it, package it, our Ayurveda, and take it out to the world. There is a hell of a lot of money. We don't have to go behind the IMF to earn money if we plug into the value chains. Now, one of the recommendations that the IMF has made is that we should plug into global value chains. Value means we need to add value to a step. If you don't add value, we don't get money out of it. So that adding value to any value chain starts with having an innovative approach to doing things. So it's a cultural thing, it's a policy decision, and it's a legal decision. So as far as lawyers and laws are concerned, I think we can and we do play a significant role. It's up to you to recognize it, see it, and use it in a way that gives you that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Harsha Fernando for that profound address. And next coming up is a visionary serial entrepreneur, Mr. Dhanika Perera, the CEO of Bhasha. He is the mastermind behind some of the Sri Lanka's most influential digital platforms, including Helakuru, Pay Here, and Helapay. Armed with bachelors in computer science and engineering from University of Moratuwa and an MBA from University of Sri Lanka, Dhanika has revolutionized digital communication and online payments in Sri Lanka. His remarkable journey has earned him multiple prestigious awards, including the Ambilians South Asian Award and recognition as an outstanding young Sri Lankan role model. I'd like to invite Mr. Dhanika Perera on stage to talk about the role of an entrepreneur. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to Mr. Dhanika Perera.
Thank you for that nice introduction. Good evening to all of you. And thanks, I would like to thank OPA for inviting me to this session to talk to you on the subject of topic of entrepreneurship. I was requested to actually share my own experience throughout my entrepreneurial journey, so that I thought to share a few case studies of how we actually played the role of an entrepreneur. But before that, I thought it's better to reposition the concept of entrepreneurship in your mind, right? Because traditionally we have actually a very outdated concept in terms of actually what is entrepreneurship really is, right? This is actually happened because of mostly how our media handled the words, entrepreneurship, vivasayakya, vivasayakatve කියන වචන පාවිච්චි වෙන විදිහ මාධ්‍යය, right? So that I thought first, before going into the case studies, to give you a updated version of what is entrepreneurship. So this is actually what we know traditionally, right? Starting and running a business for profit. Now this is actually what we normally see as entrepreneurship, but this is actually an outdated concept, right? Today, entrepreneurship has a modern definition: identifying and solving problems which can be societal or market challenges through innovative ideas, right? Through innovative ideas, products, services, while creating sustainable value and generating profit, right? So this has actually very significant words: identifying and solving problems. Now this is actually a key role of an entrepreneur, right? And how we do that? We do it through innovative ideas, product and services. And when we do that, automatically values are being created, sustainable values are being created, and through them, as a return, entrepreneurs generate profit, right? So it's actually totally different how the role of a business and the role of an entrepreneurship, right? So it's very important to understand what is the difference between that. Going into that, අපි තේරෙන සිංහලෙන් කිව්වොත් අපි ව්‍යවසායකත්වයේ කියන එකේ අපි new definition එක තමයි සමාජයේදී ප්‍රශ්න ගැටලු අඳුනාගෙන ඒ සඳහා නිර්මාණාත්මක අදහස් තුළින් විසඳුම් සපයමින් තිරසාර අගයන්තරින් value creation, and through that making profit, ලාභය පීම, right? So we have to identify what is this difference between a business and an entrepreneurship. right? So business, what they do, they sell existing products and services for profit, right? Now, if you take an example of a yogurt factory, just for an example, right? So you already know what is the product that you are going to sell, and you already know what is actually the ingredients that you need to make yogurt, right? What is the machineries that you need to purchase, and you know already the the packaging of a yogurt, right? You know already the market price of a yogurt, right? You know who are the competitors in the yogurt industry, and you know what size of a market is there, and you are going and grabbing a portion of that market, right? So when it comes to business, it always actually follows an existing business models. It shares existing markets, right? And it only adds value. But if you compare it with entrepreneurship always goes with solving problems, right? Solving problems through innovative ideas, new products, new services, and that creates new business models, right? It do not actually follows the existing business model, but entrepreneurship creates new business models and create new markets, right? When it comes to a new innovation, there was no market for that innovation before. So it creates a new innovation, a new market, and it creates value, right? So in terms of actually the impact for the economy, entrepreneurship always had a high impact for the economy than the businesses, right? So this is how we played this role of entrepreneurship through our entrepreneurial journey. Our first product was actually, and the well-known product was Helakuru. And what is the problem that we identified? Now, back in the days, 12 years back, people in our country didn't have a way to communicate in our mother tongue in the digital device that is in our hand all the time, the smartphones, right? So this is actually the problem that I identified as an entrepreneur during my university time, right? It's an honor for me to speak in this audience with Professor Halwathura. He was actually one of my lecturers while I was studying at University of Moratuwa, right? So at that time, as a university student, I was so passionate about this Sinhala language, Sinhala font, Sinhala Unicode, and that passion was the thing that motivated me to come up with this solution, identify this problem and come up with this solution, right? So as a result, I actually developed the very first Sinhala input for smartphone devices 14 years back, right? And because of that, it went really viral because people already had this problem, right? It's a very basic problem, being able to express yourself in your mother tongue. Because it actually solved the problem, people embraced it very fast and it went really viral, right? So as a result, today, we have been able to empower all the Sri Lankans to communicate in our mother tongue, right? More than 16 million downloads as the most downloaded mobile app in the country. And we have been able to take the digitalization, the benefits of digitalization, not only to the tech savvy people, not only to the urban people, but also to the villages. Gamata digital karane ගෙනියන්න අපිට පුළුවන් වුණා by breaking this language barrier, right? Breaking this language barrier. So we took it as an opportunity to introduce more and more services through this platform. Right now we have the largest digital audience in the country with Helakuru, more than 4 million active users, 16 million downloads, but monthly active users we have more than 4 million. So we make it a channel to introduce more and more digital services by bringing digitalization, the benefits of digitalization to the masses. Very recently, even we integrated with the government's GovPay platform as well, so that even a person in a village can actually use Helakuru in local language, in Sinhala or Tamil, to make any kind of payment, including government payments as well. So digital divide is actually a problem that many countries faced, and we were able to actually address this problem also, societal problem also, by introducing this little innovation into the market, solving that problem, language barrier. And when I grew as a business, we had a need to accept payments from our customers, right? So we were running a digital business earlier days, but we didn't have a proper way to accept payments from our customers in digital mechanisms, right? So that is actually the problem that I identify next, and as a solution, I made a solution for that, a payment gateway facility which is actually accessible and affordable even for startups, right? So the problem before was there were payment gateways offered by banks, right? But none of them was actually affordable or accessible for startups or new businesses, many of the businesses, right? It was actually a very premium kind of a service that only reputed businesses could get from banks, right? So I as a business, when I start the business, I as a business actually felt that need, felt that problem. Okay, I as a startup, even I can't afford a payment gateway facility. So that was actually the problem that I identified as a business. So this actually specifically addresses a problem for the business community, right? Many were actually waiting for PayPal, the international service, to come into Sri Lanka to solve this problem, right? There were so many online petitions, and if you remember, it was an election promise at many of the elections before, right? Bringing PayPal into Sri Lanka, but still it's not there, right? So I, as an entrepreneur, what I thought, we won't be able to 100% match PayPal, but why can't we do something locally, right? So that was actually the motivation behind Pay Here, and I could partner up with the banks, existing banks, financial institutes, telcos and all, and build an aggregated, startup-friendly payment gateway facility for the country, right? And that was called Pay Here. In terms of the benefits, how the society got benefited, so we could eliminate the barriers for startups and especially home-based businesses. Earlier, it was a mandatory that to have a business registration to accept online payments, right? But we actually, step by step, we eliminated those barriers, and right now, even a freelancer who do content creation on TikTok or any other platform, even can accept payments online through Pay Here, right? So it actually opened up digital payments for a wide variety of actually the businesses, even new kind of businesses, emerging businesses, so that everybody could get this facility to accept their payments in a very convenient and online way. And right now, we have been able to process or facilitate more than 20 billion rupees of payments. We started in 2016. We had few challenges. I will explain them later. But we launched commercially in 2018. So for these 7 years, we have been we facilitated more than 20 billion rupees of transaction for more than 6,000 local businesses who were waited for PayPal to come into Sri Lanka to get that done, right? And it's also actually, in terms of the macro level, it's a way forward towards bringing Sri Lanka, taking Sri Lanka into a digital economy, right? If it is a digital economy, the transaction must happen digitally, which is still not very, lacking in most of the places. So we have been able to contribute it to a greater extent. And the third case study, now this again I identify a problem when I run this Pay Here payment facility, right? That problem is now the cost of an online payment is very high for a business, right? You know this 3% saga, right? So not only for the online payments, even when you go to a shop and try to use your card, they actually charges extra 3% from you if you want to pay from the card, right? So that is not legal. That's a different case. The cost has to be borne by the merchant. But unfortunately, this is actually the reality. The cost of an online payment is very high. And when I actually find out the root cause for that, Now, there are so many parties, so many intermediaries who actually contributes in processing an online payment, right? That's the acquiring bank from the merchant side, issuing bank from the customer side. There are payment processors and payment networks like Visa, Master, Amex, and there are payment PSPs, payment service providers. So this 3% or that kind of a commission distributes among all of them. So I took it as a problem and find out a solution. So what we came up with a 100% local digital payment method where you don't have to actually use that international intermediaries like Visa, Master, but the entire transaction process within the country, right? So it do two things. It reduces the cost. You don't have to bear that cost which goes to Visa, Master kind of international parties. And from the macro perspective, it actually saves a lot of foreign exchange outflows from the country, right? According to the recent stats, per year, more than 10 billion rupees of more than 10 billion foreign exchange outflows happens due to this Visa Master fees, right? You can understand the amount of card transaction in the country, no? So when it actually multiplies, more than 10 billion rupees goes out from the country for the transaction happens within the country. There's no need at all, right? If we can actually process the domestic payments within the country, we don't need a foreign party to facilitate that. Foreign party is needed only to facilitate international payments, cross-border payments, right? So that we could actually came up with this local payment method, HelaPay, and we leveraged the existing user base of Helakuru to quickly adapt that, and we could actually reduce the online payments for the merchants by 1 to 1.5%. Right now we only charge about 1.5% or 1.99% for HelaPay, and we could eliminate that huge foreign exchange outflow in a macro perspective, and we could very quickly adapt people within the first 2 years after introduction of HelaPay. It actually processed more than 1 billion rupees of payments, right? So again, this is actually a product or a innovation for a problem that we identified in a macro and a micro perspective and came up with an idea to solve. And the news service. So this is actually kind of a disruptive innovation that we did in terms of news, right? There are so many, there are a few here also. There are so many news services in the country. But we wanted actually, we identified a problem which is an emerging problem, especially for the youngsters, right? Now the social media era, in this social media era, the new generations do not actually wait until the night or the next day to read the paper or to watch the TV to get informed about the things happening around you, right? So they want actually information to be real time. And what was the previous options before? Only social media was only option to fulfill that hunger of information, right? But what happens when it comes to when you depend only on social media? While some actually use social media to spread true news, there are so many misinformation and disinformation happening through social media as well, right? So we identified this as a problem. No credible way to get news in real time, right? No credible way to get informed in real time. And that's where we actually came up with our own digital news service called SNA, right? And right now, we have been able to become the de facto way of, people getting informed, how people getting informed about something. The first source of information we have been able to be. So in terms of societal benefits, we have been able to make people aware about country's socio-political situation in real time, and that actually impacted a lot during the past, socio-political situation in the country, right? Where many attempted, as in the previous years, to hide the truth through misinformation and disinformation, we could actually play a great role for the social benefit to always bring the truth, bring the reality, and to inform people about everything in real time. And right now, it has been the source of information to many busy people, including someone special. And I was also very amazed to hear from his words. And this was actually in January this year. Okay, so even the president get informed about things through SNL right now. So that is actually the level that it has gone to the masses. Again, we actually used our strengths, used our already acquired strengths, which is the user base of Helakuru, right? We didn't actually start SNA as a separate product, separate app, but we actually used the already existing user base of Helakuru to quickly adapt users to this digital news service. So because of that, all that 4 million people became our news readers, digital news readers, so that we could make a huge impact, as you saw. And also, entrepreneurship is not an easy journey, right? When it comes to that problem-solving journey, innovation plays a major role. Innovation is always the heart of entrepreneurship. So when we innovate and go forward, we have to face challenges as well. So I thought to share a few of those challenges we faced in terms of Helakuru and PayHere's journey. In terms of Helakuru, one of the major challenges that we faced was finding a business model. Now this is a place where many of the startups fail even, right? Even though your product is smart enough, even though your product makes a huge social impact, if you fail to find the right business model, sustainable business model, you won't be able to survive. You won't be able to sustain, right? So, and also it was very challenging for us in the Sri Lankan context, because most of the time, our people think software is free, right? Most of the time, even I'm sure most of you, I don't know, but how many of you actually pay for your Microsoft Office package, which is installed in your laptops, right? I think many not yet, right? It's some crack or something, most of the time. So that is actually the mindset of the common man. So that in that kind of a mindset, trying to charge a fee or coming up with a business model for a digital product, software product, was very challenging for us. So we tried many things, and we had to run Helakuru for over 4 years without actually earning a single cent, right? Initially, we thought to actually earn through other mechanisms rather than charging the users or getting a fee from the users like advertising, but it was very limited opportunity. But through trial and error, we tried many things to go in this freemium model while giving the basic features free, offering some value-added features as a premium subscription. So we could finally overcame that after about 4 years by identifying again a very sensitive point of our local users, right? That is actually a very fancy feature. They were attracted to pay an amount and subscribe when we actually introduced these themes, keyboard themes, where you can actually put your loved one's photo and all that as your keyboard background, right? We tried many technically sophisticated features to make it as premium features, but we failed, right? The only thing attracted initially was actually very sensitive feature, very fancy feature that was actually based on our people's taste. And then actually we faced international competition, because the entrepreneurship in the digital era is not actually local, right? We have to face international competition as well. So even though Helakuru as a single import was a innovation initially, later, about 4 or 5 years, we got competition from international players such as Google's Gboard. They started supporting singular input, and Swift from Microsoft, and Samsung Keyboard. They all actually started facilitating singular typing, right? So that we had to face that, and how we faced that was actually following strategies such as diversification and branding. So before the competition comes, we could actually build Helakuru as a brand beyond the product, right? Right now, actually, when it comes to thinking about singular typing, the brand Helakuru comes to the mind of many people in the country, right? So building a brand was helpful for us to sustain our market, and also we didn't stop just being a keyboard, right? Just being a keyboard, we diversified it, we pivoted it from a single purpose app into a multi-purpose super app, and right now Helakuru goes as a super app with many features as a bundle, one bundle. So those are the services that you get in that bundle. SNA, the new service, information service, and HelaPay, the digital payment method. Likewise, we have a set of services bundled through that, so that we could actually sustain our market. And when it comes to challenges faced by our Pay Here journey, Pay Here is actually a B2B product targeted for the businesses. So initially, we faced actually a red tape from the regulations. Again, as you mentioned, the law plays a major role when it comes to promoting or demoting innovation, right? So we actually, from Pay Here's journey, we actually faced a legal barrier for us to operate as a payment gateway in the country. The reason was our legal system was very much outdated when it comes to this Payment and Settlement Systems Act. It actually, prohibits any party to facilitating online payments on behalf of someone else, right? If you are to do that, you have to be a licensed financial acquirer. So we were not a licensed financial acquirer. We wanted actually to identify that problem and come up with a technology solution to solve that problem, right? Accessible and affordable online payments for local businesses, right? But the legal barriers actually stopped us. Just after 2.5 months, we had to shut down our services by a letter from the regulator, central bank, right? But we didn't give up. We actually fighted against that. We went there and struggled it, convinced the need of the country for that kind of a payment solution, right? And finally, the central bank was actually flexible enough to come up with a new direction, amendment to the law, giving legal provision to that, right? So it came as direction number 1 of 2018 in the Payments and Settlements Act. They allowed actually payment services providers partnered up with banks to facilitate online payments. So we had to actually be flexible on that aspect as well. We had to partner up with the bank, who is a licensed financial acquirer, and then to do whatever the legally not allowed things for us to through the bank, and handle the technology from our end. So our expertise was anyways technology. So we handle it from our end, and we partner up with others to get the legal provision compliance, and we could successfully relaunch the service after 2 years in 2018, right? So that was actually the case of the law. My personal belief is entrepreneurs has always should break the law. That has not been a legal statement, but the rationale behind is this, right? Now, when actually aeroplanes come into the world, right, there was no, aero related laws in the world, right? So when they actually innovate, after that actually the law should be supportive for that. And right now we see it as automotive vehicles, right? Automated self-driven vehicles, right? Now still Sri Lanka and many other countries do not have legal provision for that. But when the world goes with innovation, moves forward with innovation, the legal systems has to be supportive for that, right? So that entrepreneurs actually have a kind of a exceptional privilege there to influence the laws that is needed for innovation, right? And again, we had to, one of the major challenge that we had to face was international cyber threats, right? And it happened due to some of the vulnerabilities that we had. We had to face a severe cyber attack because, you know, there are these international hacker groups nowadays who actually do these kind of activities for ransom, right? We call it as ransomware. But we could actually overcome it through proper crisis management and ensuring our integrity. We ensured the integrity throughout that negative thing happened, and however, could save all our customers. None of them actually dropped us because of that incident that happened. Okay, and as a final thought, I thought to share why entrepreneurship is important as a country. Now, this is actually basics from A-level economics. Unfortunately, I had to learn this on my MBA because I did maths for my A-levels. For an economic to grow, right, we definitely have to increase our GDP, that is the production, right? So we learned in economics the factors of production. What are the factors of production? Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, right? So as a country, what we do not have, right? We always actually discuss, we always talk, we have enough land. Land means not actually even only the, physical land, the physical resources, all the physical resources. Lankawe නැති ස්වභාවික සම්පත් වෙන කොහෙවත් නැහැ, right? We have enough physical resources in the country. And then labor, not only labor, we have skilled labor in the country, right? There are more than enough people, right? And we have capital, not in actually the relevant places, but in the banks. Banks are always profitable. They actually hit market records. Capital are there, right? So what we are lacking in terms of actually increasing our production is actually this fourth factor, entrepreneurship. So why it is very crucial, very important. Now, even though you have all these three things, right? If you don't have this factor of entrepreneurship, there's no one to manage these other three things and make a value, create a value for the economy, right? So that is actually the importance of entrepreneurship to an economy. Entrepreneurs should be there to manage the land, manage the labor, manage the capital, and create a value for the economy, right? So as a stat, Sri Lanka only have about 3% of entrepreneurs from the population. 3%, only 3%. All the other labor force are actually go into that labor factor, not for the entrepreneurship factor, right? So if we are to increase our production, in terms of production, it's not only products and services. We definitely should increase the number of entrepreneurs in the country who can actually manage these three things already available in the country and create value for the economy. And just to summarize, so the modern role of an entrepreneur, it's actually to identify and solve problems in the society or markets through innovative ideas, creating sustainable value and generating profits, right? It always actually go with solving problems. So if we are to solve the problems, what we should do and what we should not do is a quote from Albert Einstein. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we created them, right? අපිට කවදාවත් අපි ප්‍රශ්න ගොඩනගාගන්නදී හිතපු විදිහටම හිතලා කවදාවත් බෑ ප්‍රශ්න වලට විසඳුම් සොයන්න. So then we have to think new, right? We have to think new, and as the previous speaker mentioned, we have to make it a culture of innovation, culture of innovative thinking. We have to think new always. So let's try to think new and move, take forward the country through entrepreneurship and innovation. Thank you.
Now let's move to the panel discussion. I'd like to invite to our esteemed panelists for the panel discussion, Professor Rangika Halwathura, the Senior Professor from University of Moratuwa, Mr. Harsha Fernando, President's Counsel, Mr. Dhanika Perera, Founder, Bhasha Lanka Private Limited. And also, we have another panelist for the evening, Mr. Revan Veerasinghe, Attorney at Law, specializing in intellectual property, legal advisor, Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology.
My question is to our Innovate President's Council. Now, in Sri Lanka, they don't register digital content. For example, if you have a report or something and go to in NIPO, they say sort of it cannot be properly registered. So, is there a way electronic something like a report can be something like a report can be digital content like a report can be registered with the intellectual property organization abroad. For example, if you email your report to a intellectual property office abroad, can they sort of issue like a copyright? Yeah.
But then it's the difficulty or the onus falls on you because you have to prove that you created it. Because only the original creator of a work gets the rights, and it's a significant right. You get exclusivity for 70 years plus your lifetime. So that's a significant portion. But you need to demonstrate that you created this, which is why copyright cases sometimes need there's a huge burden of proof that needs to be established. And because you need to establish that you actually created this. So I have seen musicians come with their pieces of paper where they have or scribbled their notes and their melodies on, simply because they proved they did it themselves. But to answer your question, can you register it? Under the Sri Lankan regime, no. But the US provides for registration of copyright. But what you can do, it's a very simple mechanism, is you do your work of literature or work of art or music or whatever, put it into an envelope and post it to yourself. Because then you would have a date stamp that goes against the time in which this was created. So if ever there is a dispute and someone wants to question your ownership and the fact that you are the original creator, because Section 6 requires that you have to be the original creator of a copyright work, then you can always give the registered envelope to the judge and ask the judge to open it, because it has a seal that puts the timestamp. Those are practical measures to overcome this problem.
Establish authorship rights. So we are getting into, and again, as Dhanika mentioned, it's not breaking the law, but actually innovation is going ahead of the law and we are doing catch up. Those days the law used to make the framework and everybody sort of started playing around it, but now the tables have turned and we are playing catch up. So we have started the question with AI models, LLMs, and then authorship is going to be a very, very hazy idea.
These are not getting realized to a kind of a commercial product or services, though the innovations are going on. What do you think the best solution so these our innovations are getting realized as a commercially viable product or services to the market? I feel this particular mechanism is lacking in this country.
Innovation, it's the invention. I mean, there are a lot of inventions are happening, but those are not really converted to innovations. One is we are not really aware of the legal system. Now, let's say if I know about the legal system, I'll be able to at least protect the intellectual property, and then only I'll be able to think, okay, I mean, I have a IP, I should sell it. So that is really lagging in the country, and we are not basically giving that particular knowledge through the education system. That is one big problem. The other thing, I mean, not even to go to the innovation, but to do the invention. The biggest problem is the education system in the country. You forget the schools, but take the universities. You spent it's not the 6% GDP, but at least a portion of the GDP goes to the education system, especially the education, the university education. And you count the number of people who basically use those facilities to create some new knowledge is very minimum. Let's say a person who doesn't have, who has not passed the A levels, they are not allowed to enter into the university system. So that's a big problem. You go to any other country, any layman, if they have some idea, they will be able to enter into the university, talk to a professor, and that particular professor will link that idea with the industry. So the funding will be there, the idea will be there, and that idea is basically not a they found the problem, they found the problem and solving the problem. But many of the inventions happening in the country today, these idea, the inspiration are basically coming in a dream. So those are the problem is not really existing. So we create the solution and we try to find the problem. But more than if we can get the problem from the society that is known to the majority, the masses. So if they can reach the university who have the technical competencies, because we are not the inventors, we know the technical know-how. You get the problem from the community, link with the university, the funding is not there. You can't ask the government to always fund for these inventions. The industry has to be ready. So that particular system is not available in the country. So that's so sad. And the biggest problem is the industry. We as the academics, we have not proven ourselves that we are ready to solve the problems. The industry have a lot of problems in the country, but unfortunately they can't reach the university because they don't have the competence with about the technical the aspects of what the industry needs. So there are a lot of lapses here and there. The linking is not there. So unfortunately the country is suffering.
Team, it's my privilege to invite Mr. Dhanika, the President of Organization for Professional Associations of Sri Lanka, Mr. Dhanika Perera, the President-elect of OPA, Mr. Thisara De Silva, General Secretary of OPA, Dr. Naresha Samarasekara, the Chairman of Social Events, Outreach Programs and Young Professionals Committee, Engineer Dhanika Halwathura, Chairman of Junior Inventors of the Year and University Inventors of the Year Committee of the Institution of Engineers, Sri Lanka, and Mr. Chamil Edrimuni, Chairman of the Seminars Committee, to present the tokens of appreciation. It's my honor to invite the following dignitaries to receive their tokens of appreciation. Professor Rangika Halwathura, Senior Professor in Faculty of Engineering, University of Moratuwa. Mr. Harsha Fernando, the President Council. Mr. Dhanika Perera, founder Bhasha Lanka Private Limited. Mr. Ravan Virasinghe, the legal advisor for Institute of Nanotechnology, Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for everybody. We've reached to the end of the program lined up for this evening, so it's my pleasure to invite Mr. Thisara De Silva, the General Secretary of OPA, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Nishadi. All good things should come to an end. So, as the General Secretary of the Organization of Professional Associations of Sri Lanka, it is my duty to propose the vote of thanks. President Mr. Sujivila Dhanika, President-elect Mr. Dhanika Perera, Treasurer Mr. Chandrasiri Kalupahana, immediate past President Mr. Sarath Gamage, past Presidents, Office Bearers, Exco and Forum members, distinguished guest speakers, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure we have all learned a great deal from this seminar on Innovate Sri Lanka, Empowering Entrepreneurs, organized by the Social Events, Outreach Programs and Young Professionals Committee, and the Seminars, Workshops and Programs Committee of the Organization of Professional Associations of Sri Lanka, jointly with Junior Inventor of the Year and University Inventor of the Year Committee of the Institution of Engineers, Sri Lanka. This has undoubtedly been a valuable opportunity for all aspiring entrepreneurs and innovators to obtain an understanding of the main topic that they should know. I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to Professor Rangika Halwathura, Professor of the Department of Civil Engineering at the University of Moratuwa, Mr. Harsha Fernando, President's Counsel and Mr. Dhanika Perera, founder Bhasha Lanka Private Limited, for being our expert speakers this evening. We have all benefited greatly from your experience and knowledge. Thank you. I must also thank Ms. Nisa, our moderator, Nishadi Rajapaksa, for doing a great job. I would like to express my gratitude to President Sujiwalal Dahanayaka, President-elect Mr. Jayant Gallehewa, Treasurer Mr. Chandrasri Kalupana, immediate past President Sarath Gamage for their leadership and guidance. I would like to thank the Chairman, Vice President Mr. Dr. Naresh Samarasekara, and members of the Social Events, Outreach Programs and Young Professionals Committee, and Chairman, Vice President Engineer Chamil Edirimuni, and the members of the Seminars, Workshops and Programs Committee, as well as Chairman Engineer Janaka Lakmewan, and members of the UIY Committee of the Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka for organizing this seminar. I also thank our panelist, Mr. Revan Veerasinghe, attorney at law, for his contribution. Thank you. My gratitude also goes to the Center Director and staff of OPA for all the arrangements and the support they have extended. I must also thank the sponsors today, Aero Engineering, for sponsoring today's program. Finally, I would like to thank the audience for your active participation and your participation, and I would like to invite everyone for dinner at the restaurant. Thank you.